What is up, party people? Shoot the Gap, episode 42. Shout out to all the 42s out there. I'm not going to do it solo, y'all. Solo dolo. Doc is sick, and the amigo was not able to get his muscles for the show in time, so we couldn't do a muscle show. No, actually, we're having problems with Discord, so I just decided to do solo dolo. We're going to do a quick shoot or fire segment, but before that, if you like the show, if you like the channel, if you like the video, if you just like my dumb, pretty face, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you don't like it, dislike twice. This show is brought to you by the pride of Sunnyside High Volume Music Radio, where Brother Anthony puts Brother Rod to shame, being the real Houston radio show. You don't need the buzz. You need High Volume Music Radio. Download the app below. Also, Sports Hosts app, the premier global sports app. Get on there while there's still something to get in on. It's a lot of fun stuff going on. You want to talk about fantasy football? It's the perfect place. Speaking of talking about fantasy football, we got a couple Saturday games going on today that we already talked about, but that's exciting. So today we're going to be talking about Sunday and who we're going to shoot or cease fire on. You can tell I didn't do my tongue twisters beforehand, but oh well. We're going to soldier on through it. First off, the Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts, the battle for the AFC South. We have a good team that knows their strengths, then we have the Houston Texans. And for that reason, the only Texans I'm starting are Watson and the kicker. You can try to choose a receiving option, but in Week 15, when playoffs, or at least consolation playoffs, are alive, I'm not betting my stakes on a shaky offense like Houston. For the Colts, I'm starting T.Y., the J-Train, Hines in the flex. I'm starting their D. And, of course, you got to start the Rodrigo. Goes without saying. Not even close. Colts are going to win this one. Moving on. The Tampa Bay. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I keep getting their name wrong. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons are battling off in the NFC South. It is the national version of the AFC South game, and just like it, there is one good team that's going to make it to the playoffs, and then there's the Falcons. Speaking of which, Julio Jones is out for this week, so the only Falcon I'm starting is a Mr. Younghoe Koo, the NFC version of Rodrigo. We need to think his own cool nickname, though. For the Bucs, all the Tampa Bay starters are going to be none other than Tampa himself, Mr. Brady, Mr. Warlock, chasing his 7th ring, going from the number of man to the number of freaking most Super Bowls ever. I'm starting Mike Evans. I'm starting Gronk because I'm feeling spicy. And I'm starting both the Tampa D and the kicker. Bucs are going to win this game. Moving on. The 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys are battling out to see who is the premier. When I say premier, I mean like back in the 80s. Who is the premier team? For the Niners, the only person I'm starting is Ayukin. I understand that Kittle is coming back off of IR, but I don't know. Ayukin has just been too good for me to doubt, and I do see him being the primary playmaker on Sunday. I could be totally wrong, and Kittle could go off, but it just doesn't seem kosher to me. I'm also starting the Niners D. As far as the Cowboys, I don't know why, but my gut is telling me to start Amari Cooper, so I am. Amari Cooper, Zeke the Freak, and then the kicker, Mr. Zerline himself. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Niners are going to win this game. Moving on. The Detroit Lions and the Tennessee Titans are battling out. Two of these teams like to run the ball, and one of them is good at it. For the Titans, I'm going to start Derrick Henry. I'm going to start Corey Davis, even though he did not do too well last week. I'm sitting A.J. Brown just because I feel like it. Jonnu Smith, I'm not going with him. My gut tells me no. But I am starting a Mr. Ryan T. Speaking of T's on the Lions, I'm going to start T.J. Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, if he's healthy. I honestly don't know. And then Matt Stafford. I am not starting Prater, and I am not starting either defense. I take the over on this game. Titans are going to win. Moving on, we have the Patriots at the Miami Dolphins. And speaking of, ooh-wee, woe is me, the only thing I'm starting is the Pats D, because that team looks shaky. I tell you what. As far as the Dolphins are concerned, I'm definitely starting the Dolphin D and the Dolphins kicker, because he's a stud. And if Gesicki can shape up in time and play tomorrow, I'm starting him. If not, I would start that fella that caught touchdowns when Gesicki got injured. I can't think of his name right now, but it looks to me in the limited game script I'm seeing that Tua likes to throw to the tight end. So that's something to keep in mind for next year, boys. If Tua takes a step forward, I'm all in on Gesicki. I'm taking the Dolphins to win this game, but I'm taking the under. It's going to be competitive. Moving on, the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings battle it out in the NFC North to see who can win. For the Bears, I'm starting David Montgomery, Allen Robinson, and the defense. As far as the Vikings are considered, I'm starting their offense. Their best offensive player, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen. I am not playing shit stick with their tight ends, no siree. And Dan Bailey is not the kicker for me. I tell you what, he low-key gave the Tampa Bay Bucks a victory a couple of weeks ago. Or was it last week? I don't remember. Had to block it out of my mind. It was that bad. Don't own him. Bears are going to win this game. Moving on, the Seattle Seahawks and the Washington football team, known as WTF, are battling out once again. It feels like once again, but it's the first time they've played all season. Washington has just had a somewhat hard schedule. As far as the Seahawks are considered, I'm starting Russell, but come on, that goes without saying. You got to let him cook. I'm starting Chris Carson, Duke DK, and Mr. Tyler Lockett. Keep an eye on Josh Gordon as they enter the playoffs. He might be a good start whenever you're doing your pick'ems. When the real NFL playoffs happen, if you're still playing fantasy football. I would not start the Seahawks D, but I would start their kicker in this matchup. I think Washington's going to hold them to a lot of kicks. They're not going to score as many touchdowns. As far as the Washington football team is considered, I'm starting Scary Terry and the defense. And that's it. I picked the Seahawks to win this game, but it's not going to be as it's going to be more competitive than people think. Moving on. Now, the Amigo actually gave me a note about this game that he wanted to mention, which is ironic because this game means something wholly different to me than what it does to him. I'm going to cover his angle first, and then I'm going to go into mine. Now, the Amigo says that the Ravens are feeling really good. They're on a high right now from beating the Browns last week, and you know they're gonna do what they're due. They're gonna smell their own farts, or maybe the frickin' Duke that Lamar took in the locker room, and that's gonna stop them from being able to pummel the Jags like everyone assumes they're going to. Now, me, on the other hand, I actually have this lined up as my angry sex matchup of the week. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Baltimore Ravens, and I am calling for angry sex on the Ravens side of the ball. I'm starting Lamar Jackson. I'm starting Mark Andrews. I'm starting Gus the Bus Edwards. Yes, you heard it correct. I'm starting him over the Dominator, over Mark Ingram. He will be the RB this week. I'm also starting the Ravens D. And, of course, you got to start Justin Tucker. If Mr. Blankenship is the GOAT and if Mr. Youngwei Koo is a cool hoe, for all intents and purposes, Justin Tucker is their daddy. As far as the Jags are concerned, I'm only starting Robinson. He's the only asset worth breathing on. Ravens are going to win this game. Angry sex. Moving on. Speaking of which, the New York Jets and the Los Angeles Rams are going to show us which coast is better, the West or the East. The Rams are looking good, and for them, I'm going to start Woods, I'm going to start Kupp, and I'm going to start Akers, as well as the D and the kicker. For the Jets, no one. So, moving on. We have a fun treat for this week, ladies and gentlemen. It's the very own Battle of the Boyds. This time we have the Philadelphia Eagles and the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals have been feeling lax several of the last couple of weeks, and the Eagles are actually starting to surge. They still have a chance to make it to the playoffs. It's for all intents and purposes that I see the Cardinals winning this game, if nothing else, because the Eagles only win when they're not supposed to, not when you want them to. For the Eagles, I'm starting Hurts and I'm starting Sanders. He looked god-awful good with that run last week. For the Cardinals, I'm starting Kyler Murray, D-Hop, and Drake. You heard him. You got him. Our very own Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails trifecta. But will this be the type of trifecta that gets them the win? Or is this the type of trifecta that will infect you? Cardinals are going to win this game. Taking the over. Hope it's high scoring. Moving on. The Kansas City Chiefs and the New Orleans Saints battle it out to show you which is better, the NFC or the AFC. Drew Brees, trying to come back, will be out without his Easter Island head, Mr. Michael Thomas. Who else will catch 3-yard slants, bubbles, and screens? It's probably going to have to be AK. AK is thrilled to have a quarterback playing quarterback instead of a disheveled, dyslexic running back. And for all intents and purposes, I see him skyrocketing in value and having another top-tier running back 1 week. Sanders could do decently, but the big question is, do you start Will Lutz? This is what I say. Give him 1 more week. If he sucks, throw him to the fucking curb, pour drink on him, and tell him that he's in the same room as Randy Bullock and Janikowski. I'm also starting the Saints D. For the Chiefs, actually, no, I'm not starting the Chiefs. Saints D. What the hell was I thinking when I wrote this down? They're playing the Chiefs. Come on. Okay. Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill. You start those 3 guys. Those 3 guys you have to start. I'm not starting any of the Chiefs running backs because I don't know how they're going to do against the Saints D. I see the Chiefs winning this game. Moving on. The Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants are battling out to see which team will win this time. For the Browns, the only players I feel comfortable in starting are Landry, Chubb, and Hunt. As for the Giants, it is only Gallman and Engram. It is worth noting that Danny Dimes is not feeling 100%, and Mr. Colt McCoy might have to get another start. For all intents and purposes, Colt McCoy, hook 'em horns, sir. We salute you. Go out there and win. But on a much more real note, throw like 3 picks and get stripped of 2 sacks because I'm playing the Browns D against you, and I need the win. Yes, sirree. For the final game of the week, this isn't really going to be that exciting in my opinion. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. And for all intents and purposes, this is a one-sided conversation because I'm not starting any Bengals players. Look, Big Ben, you're starting him. Juju, you're starting him. The D, you're starting him. Ebron, you're starting him. Those 4 players, I am starting. You got to remember, guys, this is week 15 of the playoffs. You don't want to just say you're going to start someone because it sounds smart and you honestly don't know what they're going to do. This is the time of the year where you bank on assets that you know are going to have a return value. It's like a stock. You don't see me running around investing all my money into things that maybe are going to do good one day then suck the next day like Bitcoin. No. You want to invest in stocks that you know are going to give you a return over time. Things like Tesla. It's the same thing with these players. You know Ebron has a target share. You know Juju has a target share. You know Big Ben is going to throw the ball. You know the Steelers D is going to make some plays. Of course Chase Claypool could have a huge game. Of course Deontay Johnson or James Washington or James Conner could have a huge day. But is it a worthy and safe investment? One that the numbers show throughout the season would be a good situation for you? One that you'd want to make? It's not kosher, ladies and gentlemen. It's not kosher. Steelers are going to win this game. It's not going to be close. I think that's it. Jeez. I'm freaking awesome. I did that fast. To quote Brian, I'm going to get his thing. Oh, Voldemort. There you go. The streak's alive. The streak's alive. And I'm going to give my final words. I'm not going to do Brian's quote. I'm going to do my own quote. I'm going to keep my own streak alive. Hey, man. Marcus Mariota looked pretty good on Thursday Night Football, and I'd like to see more of that. But I just want to reiterate what I said once again, guys. You want to think about worthy investments. It's better to make a safe play than a risky play that might work and might not work. You just need to get on the board. If you can get 120 points, that's great. You shouldn't be putting guys like Chase Claypool in. I'm not. I benched him for T.Y. Hilton's ass because T.Y. Hilton has the Texans' ass every time he plays them. Remember, guys, in fantasy football, don't just dream it, be it.